culture at new Minnesota Cannabis Agency led to several staff members calling it quits. And this actually comes from KSTP Channel 5, our local ABC affiliate in Minneapolis. A former employee of one of Minnesota's newest state agencies says more than half of her team quit during a pivotal time this summer at the Office of Cannabis Management, forcing medical marijuana patients to wait weeks for their medication. The insider's experience sheds light on the culture and working conditions at OCM as the agency took over the medical cannabis program and prepares to launch recreational sales next spring. Quote, "We all loved our jobs. We wanted to stay," said Kim Cray, who started in the medical cannabis program when the Minnesota Department of Health was in charge. The new state law moved the program and its employees from MDH to OCM over the summer. Quote, "I have no idea why they didn't just leave the medical cannabis program intact as it was," Cray said. She tells 5 Investigates that she was part of a team of 8 people that approved medical cannabis certifications. Up until last month, the state required patients to go through the certification process every year. As soon as the move to OCM took place, Cray said everything went downhill fast. But they told us, "Hey, you're coming into our house and you're going to play by our rules," she said. The medical cannabis program had been up and running for quite a long time. It was working fine. We processed the applications within a day or two. Cray said OCM management refused to honor the team's previous remote work schedule and was not interested in feedback or collaboration. She said her team of 8 quickly dwindled down to just 3. Cray was the last to resign mid-August. The staff that remained struggled to keep up with the thousands of patients who submitted paperwork to get certified for another year, leading to the backlog 5 Investigates first reported on last month. The certification process used to take a day or two. Well, "I just went through 26 days of not having it," said Jason LaCour, who was diagnosed with HIV and was prescribed cannabis to help with pain. This summer, he was trapped in the backlog at OCM for nearly a month. "If it has such great benefits and can help people, let's not make them wait for it," he said. Cray said she dreaded explaining to patients that her hands were tied. "They were very distraught, oftentimes weeping, very upset," she said. "I had heard at one point somebody saying, 'Why are you withholding my medication?'" OCM declined a request for an on-camera interview, but in a statement, Josh Collins, an agency spokesman, said the move of the medical cannabis program from MDH to OCM, quote, "triggered an increase to the natural attrition that occurs in any organization undergoing substantial change." The agency previously blamed the backlog on IT issues, a busy July, and a change in state law that makes it easier to qualify for medical cannabis. I'm going to scooch on down here. This article's a little bit long. OCM still does not have a permanent director. Charlene Briner joined the agency as interim director in the summer of 23. The initial person hired for the job quit one day amid controversy, quit after one day. When asked for an update on the hiring process, the governor's office told 5 Investigates that OCM has made significant progress and that Briner is the best person for the job during this critical time. Quote, "We have made a choice not to disrupt the work in progress by changing leadership at this time," the statement read. So I don't know what it's like in other states if it takes this long to get your license passed. I know that there's all these companies. In fact, Dr. Gene Talleyrand, right? Doesn't he do online certifications?
Yep.
Theoretically, you would think they go through quickly, but making people wait a month for the state to process the application, is that normal? Like, is that how long? Normally take in other states. It feels egregious.
In California, when you after you get your recommendation, and if you want to elect to go and get the state card, that takes about 2 weeks to receive. But you also have to make an appointment to go down there, so it could take 3, maybe possibly 4 weeks, depending on your appointment time.
However, you would still have access, right? So when Colorado started, you would go and get your card and you'd hop your happy ass with your brand new printed out paper card, which was just a sheet of paper saying that you were going to have a card coming, to the nearest dispensary and buy whatever you needed to buy. And in California, you can do the same. The state certified card will allow you to not pay taxes in the dispensary, right? So, but the card from an online pharmacist or an online doctor, pardon me, is sufficient to purchase and have access. So I think it's interesting that they're doing that. I don't understand why they would want to gatekeep patients. I understand, sometimes backlogs and those are not acceptable either on licensing for businesses, but gatekeeping patients is just, it's deplorable.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
It's definitely not a surprise to hear that there's more drama at the Minnesota OCM, considering everything that's been going on, how long everything is taking. It doesn't surprise me in the least that they're uber short-staffed and are having a hard time keeping people in their jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not a good look.
Yeah, no, I don't think so at all. But it's interesting that so many employers just like, we're out of here. They must have good contracts in place to feel that confident to just walk off the job in that size of workload.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I know that I love that a lot of it's based on not being able to work remotely, right? Like, oh, we're going to force you to come back to work, come into our office regardless of where you live. Like, that doesn't surprise me in the least. It's just unfortunate to hear that they weren't willing to accommodate their employees, nor were they willing to take any feedback. That feels really concerning.
I you know what, as an employer, Rachelle, I'm not too mad at that policy in all reality, because I feel like a lot of the times you can't really manage your employees correctly if they're working remotely. For subcontracting work, I guess that's totally fine. But like, if you actually have like an hourly employee, I just feel like there's no way that they're going to be as productive at home as they would be in the office.
Well, productivity aside, right? I think if you're dealing with someone like, the gentleman who has an HIV diagnosis, I don't want that man's medical record sitting on the desk of someone in their random home with God knows who's seeing it, right? Because at that point, you're dealing with protected medical data. You're dealing with people's personal information. So I do see a case for maybe needing to have these folks in office just to keep the integrity of the records intact. I don't know. I think I feel like they're probably quitting because they're really frustrated because there's a shit ton of work. They're not getting anywhere, and all they're hearing is how it's not getting done.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, do we know the ages of these employees that walked off the job?
I don't. They have a picture of this gal, and I mean, I can't judge a book by its cover, but she appears to be maybe middle-aged, but I can't say what the average age is. We don't list that in the article.
Fair enough. I was just wondering if these were like a bunch of young kids, is younger individuals, is why I was wondering if they were like a bunch of like self-entitled Gen Zers or something like that.
Doesn't appear to be that way.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
You're on mute, Dale.
You're on mute, Dale.
You're on mute.
DTC here in California's had a problem retaining people too. I don't know about your experience, Jenny Beth, but we've had lots of trouble working with someone, and the next thing you know, they're gone, and somebody else comes in, you start over again. And the culture inside of any business, you have to focus on keeping your employees, if not happy, at least content and meeting their needs. Otherwise, they're right now, employees they'll quiet quit on you. They'll walk away. And it may be it's a younger generational thing. I don't really know, because I've got grandkids, a younger generation. Some of them are good workers, and some of them I'd like to whip their ass. But I don't know how we fix this problem, because there's a lot of turnover in these state agencies and even in local jurisdiction agencies. And it continues to be a problem for trying to move forward and get what you need out of the government, the permits, the licenses, and these ridiculous cards. I don't think the government should be involved in these cards at all. Mm-hmm. That's just my own opinion.
Fair enough. And I do want to thank Joe Mackey with a big old super chat. He says, let's talk about the trash medical cannabis program, you guys. So, Rachelle, apparently they have a trash medical program up there.
He's not wrong. The stuff is terrible. You can literally only get disty carts and like mid-flower, and they only just added flower recently. And the carts are like $100. So
get out of here.
Jesus.
What state is this?
Yeah, for disty in Minnesota.
Minnesota, disty carts $100. Man, and probably like they only got like lame flavors like pina colada and stuff like that, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty sad. And there's also only like 10 dispensaries and only 2 companies. There's Green Goods, which is like I think GTI, and then Verano.
Hold on, there's only 2 companies licensed out there? Is there more on their way?
Yep. When rec licenses start going out, yeah, but right now there's only You can literally only buy cannabis legally from these 2 medical dispensary brands, or you can go out to the reservations and buy rec weed. Otherwise, it's all trap.
Interesting. Man, I'd probably be rolling out to the res. Maybe showing them how to grow some of the best weed in the world or something like that.
They could use your help.
This, man. You guys reach out. Well, nonetheless, we are going to keep this thing going. Unless you have something to say on trash weed, Stone.
On trash weed, no.
Okay.
Nothing to say.
All right, fair enough.
OCM sounds like a fucking mess, but I did see the backlog at least made them move it to their licenses to 3 years instead of just 1. So there's a silver lining and all that.
Yeah,
That's less fees right there, Stone. The problem is they're gonna license all these people at the same time, and so all their licenses are gonna all expire at the same time. They're gonna have the same problem every 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, jeez Louise, you guys, man, it's such a mess.